today. And what I'm going to look at with you guys today is something is very simple, but you might not have changed for a long time. And that is simply how to reply when somebody says, "How are you?" Okay, we're going to look at that. Seems simple, but I think you might learn something today. Also, we're going to look at some phrasal verbs. Then we'll jump over for some vocabulary and pronunciation over to LinkedIn News Wrap Up. And then we're going to look as well at our behavioral interview questions. We're going to look at some of them. And what else have I got in line for you? Something else I can't remember, but we're going to look at that as well. I'll jump into that when I can. So what I'm going to do is straight away just ask you guys if this is working for you. This is English to help you in your business English, improve in every area. We'll be changing all the time. And if you like it, just give it a little appreciation by giving a thumbs up, and that shares then with your community and they can then see what I'm doing here. I would really appreciate that. So in association with Elica Formación, tailor-made solutions for your business, I'm bringing you free English to help you with your all-round business English. So let's jump into it. And we're going to look at, as I said, first things first is how to reply when people say to you, "How are you?" So I would imagine most of you are saying, "I'm fine, thanks." "How are you?" Or "I'm fine, thanks." You. It's not so common in English. You'll see it down here. We'll just go through them first. Let's have a look at number one. Number one here says, "I'm doing well, thank you. How about you?" This is perfectly acceptable. "How are you?" "Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks. How about you?" "How about you" is and I'm using this a lot with my students at the moment. What about you? How about you? And it's really when you've given your answer and then you want to know someone else's opinion. You can say, "How about you?" or "What about you?" It's not so common for us to say, "And you?" It's not that common. We would say, "How about you?" "What about you?" So try use that today. Might sound strange in the beginning, but my students are definitely getting used to it now and it's becoming second nature. And another comment on this, "I'm doing well," or "How are you?" "Very well, thank you. How about you?" It is not acceptable to say, "Well, thank you." Well would signify, well, things could be better. It's this kind of buffer word we use. So it needs to be "very well" or "I'm doing well. Thank you. How about you?" And I want you to just pick one from this list today that you don't normally use and use it. And from there, you can start developing your confidence to feel more like yourself. Let's move on to number two. "How are you?" "I'm good. Thanks for asking. How are you?" "I'm good" is great. It's very common. It's universally accepted and just a perfect way to reply to "How are you?" "I'm good, thanks." Okay, you can say, "I'm good, thanks." It's always nice to ask back. So, "I'm good, thanks. How are you?" "I'm good, thanks. How about you?" "I'm good, thanks. What about you?" Okay. Not too bad, thanks. This is number three. Okay, not too bad. This, for some people, seems negative. This, in fact, is not negative at all. This is a very standard response. In the UK, in Ireland, in the US, everywhere really in the English world, this is a kind of standard response, and I generally would use this myself. "Not too bad, thanks," or "Not bad, thanks." Nothing negative about this at all. Only if I were to use intonation or irony. But honestly, this is a very, very common one with the natives. And I do notice students do feel uncomfortable using this because when translated into their own language, it's negative. It is not negative at all in English, and I would dare you to use it today. Okay? And here we have "and you." I'll substitute "and you" to get you used to "How about you?" "Not too bad, thanks. What about you?" Okay? "What about you?" "How about you?" Use this. Start using it. It's fantastic. All right, moving on to number four. This is the, we would say, pet hate of English teachers, because when we ask students in any country, and I completely understand, when we ask students, how are you? The students 99.9% of the time will reply with, I'm fine, thanks. And maybe not even ask me how I am myself, but I'm fine. Fine, I generally use when there's no problem. So I would say it's fine to use fine. That means there's no problem to use fine. I'm not a big fan. I do understand that for some reason this is the one they teach you guys in the textbooks, and it's actually the reason that I have made this list today, because I want you to try and use something else. If I were to learn French as a the common reply would be ça va, ça va, ça va, and I would use ça va all the time. Okay, it's kind of like fine. And in Spanish it would be ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Bien, bien, bien. You know, so we need to always try and get out and try something new. Okay, so instead of saying fine, which is fine, you can use it. But remember, you've been using this now probably for over 20 years, and maybe you haven't changed. So let's use something different if you are using fine all the time. So we'll move on to the next one, which is pretty good, thanks. How about yourself? Okay, is this nice? How about you? How about yourself? Yourself gives it a more kind of warm feeling, okay? All of these can be used in the office, in a phone call, in an email. These are really great. So just choose one today and go for it. Use it. Pretty good, thanks. Pretty means quite good, thanks. Pretty good, thanks. How about yourself? Now here I've got, it's also common to reply with a brief explanation of how you're feeling or what you've been up to lately, such as. Okay, let's have a look at this. This is going to make you a bit more, feel more natural in English. So we've got, how are you, James? I've been a bit busy lately, but doing well overall. How about you? So I've been a bit busy lately, but doing well overall. How about you? That's an honest, nice response. You're telling people how you are. Again, number 2 here we have, I'm feeling a bit tired today, but otherwise doing okay. How about yourself? How about you? What about you? What about yourself? And number 3 here, we have, I'm doing great, thanks. Just enjoying the nice weather today. How about you? Okay, so let me draw that over there. I'm doing great, thanks. Just enjoying the nice weather today. How about you? So you give your response, you make a comment about something, and then asking the question. So I could say, if the weather were not too nice, I'd say, yeah, I'm doing great, thanks. Yeah, pity about the weather, but what can you do? How about you? So just making it more natural, and that's what you are more than likely in your own language. When you want to talk to someone or get a conversation going, you give a bit of information, and then from that information you start generating a conversation. So how are you? I'm doing great, thanks. It's a pity about the weather, but you know, how about you? Yeah, you know, the weather, it's generally like this around this time of year, but apparently next week it's supposed to get nice for the school holidays. And before you know it, that's how we're entering into a bit of what we call small talk or chat with one of your colleagues while you're waiting for someone to join. And this is often for students a difficult situation. I know myself as a learner, I would like to be doing this when I'm, in my particular case, Spanish. So I always think to myself, how can I say something different than how are you? I'll try and say, how's it going? Or I try and do something new every day. My particular situation, I'll be going up to collect the children at school. So it's very brief. But to get the conversation going, it's nice to do something different. So there you go. There's some ideas. If you are or if you find yourself saying fine all the time, try one of these. And if you, I dare you to say, not too bad, thanks. Don't think about your other language, because we don't think about your language in English. So if it's negative in your language, doesn't mean it's negative. So not too bad is definitely just a standard response in English. It's like a phrasal verb. It doesn't mean anything, you know, it doesn't mean what it says. With that being said, I'm going to actually move on to those phrasal verbs now, if it is the next one. Yes, okay. So they're a bit small here, but anyway, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight them, okay? So if we do this, and then I can highlight, which is what I'm doing here, and maybe make this a little bit bigger. So look what we have there. Okay, great. So we have our first phrasal verb, and as I said in the last stream, when we talk about phrasal verbs, all you need to do is learn what the expression means. And when you know what it means, how do you start using it? Well, what you're going to do is just change the first word. So all we're doing here is changing the first word like a normal verb. So here we have break. Is break a normal verb? No, it's irregular because in the past it's I broke. So let's see what it means first. Breakdown. Breakdown means to stop functioning or to analyze something in detail. So let's choose the one for to stop functioning. Okay. Example. My car broke down on the way to work this morning. Okay. So that's in the past. We're only changing the first word, which is break, and we're putting it in the past. So my car broke down. No, that's the present. So put it in the past. My car broke down on the way to work this morning. So we've learned what it means in the context, okay? Because, I mean, if I look at any word in French or Spanish or English, when you look in the dictionary, it's got lots of different contexts, okay? So in this first context, breakdown means stop functioning. Now, no one in English is going to say, my car stopped functioning this morning. Okay, we're not going to say that. We're going to use a phrasal verb whenever we can. And here it is, my car broke down. Okay, now the other one is in a different context means, and we looked at this last week, which means to break things down into smaller parts to find a solution to a problem. Okay. Often when you're explaining something, you will break it down for people. Okay. First, second, third. Okay. So let's break down the problem and figure out a solution. Figure out is find a solution. Okay. Resolve, figure out. So to break down. So how did you learn how to do, if I were to talk to my son, for example, how did you learn how to do the long division in mathematics, in maths? And he would say, well, the teacher broke it down for us in class today. First, we need to do this. And if you're doing long division with your kids, you can always use the does McDonald's sell burgers? So it's divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. So I remember doing that with my son. Okay, so the acronym, does McDonald's sell burgers? That's how I remember. But anyway, breakdown. So remember, don't get angry, don't get frustrated. It's like a normal word in the dictionary. It all depends on context. So in the context of your car breaking down, it's it means to stop functioning. Okay, if I were to talk about a child or somebody have a breakdown in work, or a child has a breakdown, it's like they're going crazy. So it's all in context. Don't get frustrated. Just remember, we're just changing the first word. All right. So let's go on to if I can find a mouse. The next one here we are highlighting is bring up. Right. I'm gonna make myself a bit smaller because I just know what I'll do, in fact, is yes, that way you can see it better. I should be out of the picture now. Yeah, great. Okay, so focusing on the highlighted material is to bring up. To mention or introduce a topic in a conversation. And our example is, I wanted to bring up the topic of our next project meeting. Okay? I wanted to bring up the topic of our next project meeting. So let's imagine we're having a meeting and we're going to give you now the past tense. So bring, is it a normal verb or it's not normal? Is it bringed? No, it's not bring, it's brought. So we're going to change that into the past, and we'll talk about salary in the meeting. So I'm talking to my partner later in the evening and say, how was your meeting today? Well, it wasn't too bad. Somebody brought up the topic of salary in the meeting. It was Lisa. Lisa brought up the topic of salaries in the meeting. So we're just saying it in the past and just treating it like a normal verb. That's all we're doing. Okay. So the first thing is to kind of learn what the expression means to bring up. And then when we're using it, we're doing treating it like a normal verb. Okay, call off. I'm going to be giving you a few examples here because often you need to see them a few times before remembering. Remember as well, give me a like if I'm helping you with your English in any way. Give me a like. It will spread to your network and it gives me some good, lets people know that I'm here to help. Okay, thanks very much. Call off. This means to cancel or abandon something. So the outdoor concert was called off due to the weather. Due, D-U, pronounced J. Now, but also in the States, D. So, but 99% of the time, or almost all of the time, in the UK, for example, it's J, like my name, James, Jew. The outdoor concert was called off due to the weather. Okay, call, regular verb. I called. Okay, I called off the meeting. I called off the concert. The concert was called off in the past. All right. Hope it's getting easier for you guys just learning what call off means, because often most people will look for the easy word. Okay, you can cancel a meeting, but normally don't cancel a concert, and generally people will just say call off a concert, or you can cancel a concert, but most people are getting comfortable, like I say, with the word fine. You're just using the easy words. And you want to jump to that next level of being a bit more natural, okay? These are here for that reason. Okay, call off would be cancel or abandon. Let's move on to the next one. The most common thing to be called off would be a meeting, I suppose. They're called off all the time. Right. Let's move that up there, and we're going to highlight. Come across, normal verb or not? No, it's not. It's irregular. So it means to find or discover something by chance, by accident. And the example here is, I came across an old photo album while cleaning my closet. Okay, so anything you find by accident or by chance is to come across. If you're looking on the internet and you see something that you didn't intend to find or you weren't looking for, like an article, for example, or a cool website, you came across that website just by chance, by accident. So often you could say, oh, I found this cool website today. Or you could say, oh, I came across this cool website today. You're only, as I said, you're probably have been saying, I found, or I discovered. Discovered is not something we would say so often. It's really special to discover something, or it's just not used. But come across, used a lot. Let's just imagine that we're whether it's more common or not, we're just looking for substitutes that are phrasal verbs. Okay, and we love phrasal verbs. They're great. Once you learn what they mean, you're laughing, as we say. Right, get along. This is something you will use most likely. For example, I swear to God, I cannot see this mess because it's just the cursor. I need to fix that. Right, get along. Okay. Here, I would imagine when you're learning, say, yes, I like James. I like him, and I also like my boss, and I like my team. But we want something a bit more, a bit more feeling, and this is to get along, right? To have a good relationship or make progress. So we're talking about a relationship here for the moment. I get along well with my coworkers. I get along well with my manager. I get along well with my team. I get along. We are using this all the time. It's not I like my manager. It's okay, you can like your manager, but that doesn't say anything about your relationship. When you have a good relationship with each other and you have a joke and you can talk to each other and everything's cool and everything's great, then you get along well with that person. Get along well with your parents-in-law, get along well with your co-workers, your flatmates if you're sharing a house, these type of things. Okay, really, really useful. Now, the other way to use this, and as I said, we're just changing get, so irregular. I lived with a few people from the Ivory Coast when I was in London, and we got along really well. I got along well with them, really well with them. Okay, I got along really well with them. Irregular, we're just changing get. Okay, get, got. Next is give up. On to the next one. Just changing the first word again. Where are we? There we are. This thing is tiny. Give up. Okay. To give up, to stop trying or to quit. I didn't want to give up on my dream of becoming a doctor. Irregular, gave. Okay, in the past. I didn't want to give up on my dream. I gave up on my dream of becoming a doctor because I didn't have the money to do the studies, or I didn't have... I realized I didn't like it anymore. I gave up. And this is something when we quit, I gave up smoking 10 years ago. I gave up eating fast food. I gave up alcohol. I want to give up. I will give up, but I'll give up next year. Okay, so again, only changing the first word, and we're treating it like any normal verb. And we're coming down now to number 7. Maybe what I'll do is I'll come back to these. We'll come back to number 7. And now what we'll do is we'll jump over and we'll have a look at some vocabulary here in LinkedIn News. Just to kind of give ourselves a bit of a break from that. We'll look at the vocabulary here, and then we'll move over to looking at a question for... Check the time. We'll look at a question then for an interview, and then we can probably try and get back. I'm going to be looking at these phrasal verbs all the time because I know you guys like phrasal verbs, but you're a bit worried about using them. So let's look at some vocabulary and pronunciation here. In banking, markets unsteady after UBS takeover of Credit Suisse. Markets fell. Okay, I'll show you visually. Markets fell and rose. Okay, to rise, but it's the past tense, so it's rose. So markets fell and rose after UBS's. Okay, look, it's a possessive here. So it's UBS's. Markets fell and rose after UBS's 3 billion Credit Suisse takeover. Takeover is when you buy the company. Bank stocks and bonds initially fell sharply. To fall sharply. This is to fall. This is to fall sharply. And Goldman Sachs revised down its Eurozone forecast. Banks in Europe saw positive growth on Monday, though. The deal will wipe out about 16 billion of high-risk bonds held by investors, upending a 257 billion market. Okay, so numbers here, 3 billion, 16 billion, and 200. You don't have to say and. You can say 257 billion, or you can say 257 billion. All right. Wipe out here towards the end in the second last line. Wipe out means to erase. To erase. Okay, so we have to fall and to rise sharply and to fall sharply. Sharp is at the top of your pencil when it's very, very, like at top of a knife. A knife is sharp, isn't it? Okay, let's move on quickly. Climate change. Scientists issue final warning to... Oh no, I always do this. Okay, pause there. Climate change scientists issue... Pronunciation here, second word. Issue. Final warning to act on global warming. Final warning to act on global warming. In its final warning, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change said countries must have... That's to make into a half. Must have, the F becomes a VE, must have greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 and cut all carbon dioxide emissions by 2050. So by means before. I need it by Tuesday. I need it by Wednesday. I need it before Tuesday, before Wednesday, okay? Cut all carbon dioxide emissions by 2050 to stop global temperatures rising to dangerous levels. The planet has already warmed by 1.1 degrees Celsius, point when we talk about numbers, and must not pass 1.5 degrees Celsius, the IPCC said. And that's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC. So when I see IPCC, I will say IPCC. When I see the words, I will say the words. Generally, that's what we do. UK, I say UK. I am not going to... If I say UK, I won't say United Kingdom or US, United States. I say what I see. Okay, if that's an easy way to remember for English, say what you see. Okay, moving on to number 3 here. Oh, that was too quick. Didn't even give me a chance to pause. Research. Sciences. That doesn't make any sense. Sciences. Did I mean to write scientists, perhaps? Okay, let's see. Sciences, engineering. Engineering get more than half of EU doctoral funds. That really doesn't even make sense. Sciences. Okay, the sciences and engineering to get more than half of EU doctoral funds. Okay, it's a headline. So headlines often omit these words. You'll see it in newspapers. More than 1,650 PhD candidates across Europe will be awarded 429.4 million in funding from the European Commission. Engineering information. One second. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Okay. Engineering, information and communications technology and life science programs received more than 50% of the funds. Humanities and social sciences received 9% and economics just 0.7%. Did you see the way I said zero? Naught. There's a few different ways to say zero in English, and we normally say O for a telephone number, and we'll say naught for, in this case, 0.7%. That's generally, we won't, you can say 0.7%, and nobody will notice. Probably nobody will notice, but if you listen to natives, they'll often say, or more likely, they'll say, more than likely, they'll say 0.7%. In football, it's nil, and in tennis, it's love. All the different ways to say zero. And zero probably, in my opinion, would be the least used. I say zero with my students, but not so much in general conversation. Idea of the day: everyday lessons from International Day of Happiness. That was yesterday, I believe. Appreciating the small things in life is a great way to mark, or like to celebrate, International Day of Happiness, and something to remember throughout the year, writes Paul Smaga. The love and support of family and friends, the beauty of nature, the sense of accomplishment when you achieve a goal, when you arrive at a goal, when you achieve one. Spread happiness and kindness today and every day. Yeah, so maybe just send a quick text to someone you haven't spoken to in a while and say, hey, how's it going? Even if it's today, try and make a habit. That's my goal for today. I'm going to send it to a couple of people I haven't spoken to in a while. I haven't spoken, past participle. Let me go down here. So is there anything here we can see? Everyday lessons, international. Again, Finland, number one. I just get the feeling Finland is trying to be number one. It's like, hey, if they ask you if you're happy, like, we need to be number one. Because I just don't believe it, to be honest. I don't believe it. Probably the happiest country in the world. I don't know. It depends, doesn't it? It depends on your social status, your income, many different factors maybe. But I live here in Spain and I'm very happy. But there are people who are going through tough times as well. So I don't know. I find it difficult to believe that Finland is the happiest country on the planet. I never met anyone who said I want to live in Finland, even though I've been there and it is great. Still, why do we not all want to live in Finland then? Okay, I'm going to jump on down because I've only got a few minutes to look at this question. Where are we? Okay, I can come back to this on another day. But I want to look at these behavioral interview questions, and in this case, using the STAR method. Very important to be using the STAR method when we ask about these questions to see how we behaved in situations in the past, which will show how we're going to fit in with the company and behave with our new company in the future. So in an interview context, we want to be looking at STAR acronym, situation, task, action, result when we answer a question. And today's question that we're going to look at is, and we're going to use this method, okay? Can you describe a time when you had to take a risk to achieve a goal? This is going to show how we behaved faced with a difficult position, and in an interview showing how we could tackle difficult situations with people or situations in the future. It's a behavioral interview question. So let's have a look and break it down into STAR. Situation. Example. In my previous job, I was tasked with leading a project that had a tight deadline and limited resources. Those limited resources might be human, not many team members, or a budget, not much money. So this is our situation, STAR, S, situation. In my previous job, I was tasked with leading a project that had a tight deadline and limited resources. Okay, what's the next letter? It's T. So situation for S, STAR, T, and that's our task. My goal, what was your task? My goal was to complete the project on time with high quality results. Okay, great. We're going to flow with this. We're just saying, so in my previous job, I was leading a project and I had a tight deadline with limited resources. My goal was to complete the project on time with high quality results. Okay, we're following. So what action did we take? A. For action, I identified potential risks and developed a plan to mitigate, as in to stop those risks. I also made the decision to delegate some tasks to my team members, to give them some tasks, and this allowed me to focus on other aspects of the project that required my attention. Brilliant. And that's STAR, and then we have R, and you can be saying this in your head. So what was the result? So despite the initial challenges, we successfully completed the project on time and with high quality results. Taking calculated risks and delegating tasks allowed me to effectively manage the project and achieve our goal. Calculated risks. You don't want to look like you're a risk taker, but when you take calculated risks, it means you have looked into the situation and thought, okay, I understand the situation and I'm going to take this risk, but you have already thought about what could happen, what might not, That's a calculated risk. Okay. So what we were doing there was we were using the STAR method, situation, task, action, result. And following this for these behavioral situations, you can then use your real life situation that happened to you. And that's what you want to do for the behavioral. We'll be looking at more of those in the future. We'll be looking at more of the phrasal verbs in the future and different things. And as I said, ways that you can say hello, ways that you can say goodbye in an email, in a meeting. Often all of these different things we're going to be looking at. So give me a like if everything was good for you guys today. I'm glad you could be with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next stream. Until then, have a great day, and all the best. Bye.